Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be cutting and sewing these two pieces that you can see on your screen. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So we'll start by cutting the skirt. I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4. I'm going to fold it again so you guys understand how I folded my fabric. So first of all, I'll fold it into 2 like this. After folding it into 2, I have one closed edge and 2 open edge. The open edge is going to serve as the back of my skirt. So what I'll do is to mark my zipper allowance on the open ends of this fabric. The zipper allowance I'm using is 2 inches. So I'll mark 2 inches all the way to the end of my fabric and I'll connect into a straight line. After doing that, I'll fold over the fabric. Okay, I'll make sure it does not cover the 2 inches. That 2 inches is my zipper allowance. Okay, so this folded edge is my front pattern, while the one with the zipper allowance is that of the back. After doing that, guys, I'll be cutting my skirts, both the front and the back, together. The next thing you do is to determine if you want a band for your skirt. If you want a band, go ahead and take out the band inches. Okay, the band can be 1.5 inches, it can be 2 inches, and then determine the length of your skirt. I'm not adding the band to mine. The length of my skirt right now is about 23 inches and I'll be folding in 1 inch, so my skirt length is going to be 22 inches. The next thing I did was to place my tape on the waistline, which is the start of this fabric, and I went down by 8 inches. 8 inches is the distance from my waist to my hip, so I wrote a straight line across and I labeled it my hip line. The start of this fabric is my waistline, so I will label it my waistline. Next thing I'll do is to start placing my measurements. So as you can see, I'm placing my tape on the folded side of this fabric, which is the front. I'm not extending it to the zipper allowance. So on the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll add 1 inch for that intake and 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. On the hip line, I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll add 1.5 inches for my stitching allowance. So I'm not adding any dart intake on the hip line because the dart is not extending to the hip. It's going to stop on the waistline. After doing that, I'll connect from the waist to the hip in a curve, as you can see me doing, okay, just so it has that curvy effect. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape on the hip line. What I have there is about 10 inches because I want the my skirt length, the base of my skirt, to be really pencil. I'll take out 2 inches from that 10 inches, so I'm going to place 8 inches on the base of the skirt. I'll now connect from this hip line. As you can see me doing, I'm still maintaining the curve, and when I get down, I'm just going to slant to meet the 8 inches. After doing that, I'll go ahead and cut. Okay, so guys, after cutting, that is all for the skirt. What I'll do now is to take my dart. So remember, I left 1 inch on the waist area for my dart intake. I'll come in on the center front by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll indicate the 4 inches. On that 4 inches mark, I'll determine the length of my dart. I want it to be 3 inches, so I'm drawing a straight line of 3 inches. I'm going to take half an inch on both sides of this straight line. Remember, the dart intake that I left was 1 inch. Half an inch plus half an inch is 1 inch, sorry. So I'll connect back to meet the dart length, as you can see. So I'll go ahead and notch it. You can see that my dart is 1 inch. I'll notch it so I know where to take in my dart when I'm sewing. After notching, guys, that is all for the skirt. What I'm going to do now is to place this fabric on my lining piece and I'm going to cut. Before I cut, I'll go ahead and notch my zipper allowance. Okay, go ahead and notch it, and then I'm going to place my fabric on the lining. I'll go ahead and cut. So the only difference between the lining and the main fabric is that the lining piece is going to be half an inch shorter than the main fabric, because like I mentioned earlier, the length of my skirt is 22 inches, but I added 1 extra inch because I want to fold the fabric inside the lining. I hope you guys understand. Okay, so you can see my front pattern, it's on fold, while the back is in 2 pieces because we'll be adding our zip to the back. Okay, Guys, after cutting the lining piece, this is what I have. So this is what I was explaining earlier. The lining is 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. Once I sew, the fabric is going to be folded inside like this by 1 inch. Okay, so that's what I was trying to explain. I forgot to take in my zipper bulge for the skirt, so you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so what I'll do now is to place my lining and my fabric right sides facing right sides. Okay, and I'm going to first of all sew the base, and then I'll pull it up to sew the waist area. I'm not adding band to my skirt, so I'm closing every part of this skirt. I'm going to leave a little opening on the side that I'll use to turn everything inside out. Okay, that is that for the back. For the front, I'm going to adjust the front waistline first. Okay, so I've gone ahead to also cut out the front on my lining piece, and this is what I have. You can see that it is also 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So what I'll do is to go down on the waistline on this center front. I'll go down by 1 inch. Okay, this is because I want the skirt to sit firm on my waist area. So I'll place my tape on this center front. I'll go down by 1 inch, and I'll use my roller to just cut from that point to this waist area, making sure that I'm not cutting the waist area, because the waist for the front and the back is supposed to meet up. Okay, so don't cut from the waist, just slant your hand through, as you can see me doing. After cutting, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and re-notch my dart. Okay, just so I know where my dart is, and then I'm going to open my fabric up. I'm going to place the lining and the fabric right sides facing right sides, and I'll go ahead and sew. So what I'll do is to sew the base first, and then I'll pull the lining up to sew the waist and the sides. I'm sewing everywhere, okay, because I'm not adding band to the waistline. But if you're adding band to yours, you can leave the waistline open, and then you're going to sew your band in place. Okay, after sewing, I'll go ahead and take in my dart. Okay, so guys, for the shirt, I'll be cutting out the back first. So this fabric is folded into two for the back, and the length of my shirt is going to be 19 inches. The one on the thumbnail is a crop top, like it's really cropped. So if you want to achieve that, you can do 16 to 17 inches. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, from the center front, I'll take half of my shoulder measurement plus half an inch. This half an inch is what I'll use to stitch my sleeves to the shoulder. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to go down on that same measurement by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll slant from that point into the neckline area. So guys, next now I'll do is to place my tape after the shoulder slope, and I'll go down by half of my round armhole circumference. Half of my round armhole circumference is 16 inches, half of it is 8 inches. So as you can see me marking 8 inches. Okay, so the next now I'm going to do is to place the same measurement that I have on this shoulder line, which is 8.5 inches. I'll make sure I have that same measurement on this 8 inches mark. You can see that I don't have the same measurement, so I'm adjusting so I get a straight line from this shoulder slope down to that 8 inches. Okay, so what I'll do is to connect from the shoulder slope to meet this mark on the chest line. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to roll a straight line across, because that is where my armhole is going to sit. So this line is my chest line, is also my armhole line, and is going to serve as my bust line. I hope you guys are not confused. This is a shirt we are cutting, so I don't want to start rolling different lines on this fabric. So this chest line is where we are placing our bust measurement, and the base of this fabric is going to serve as our waistline. So I'm not rolling plenty lines, so I'll not confuse you guys. Okay, so the next now I'll do is to determine the neck width. For the width, I'll be using 3 inches. For the depth, because this is the back fabric, I'll be taking 1 inch for the depth. Okay, so what I'll do is to connect from the neck width to meet the neck depth like this. Okay, so the next now I'll do now is to place my measurement. Okay, so like I said, I'll be placing my bust circumference on this chest line. So I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll add 1 inch for ease, and I'll add 1.5 inches as my stitching allowance. So that ease allowance is very important. Okay, just if you're adding 1 inch for ease and you want to add one inch for stitching allowance, you can do that, but don't forget to add your ease allowance, because this crop shirt is not fitted at all. It's a free shirt. Okay, so the measurement that I have on this chest line is what I'm going to place on the waist area, okay, because it's not fitted at all. What I have there, I'll place the same thing on the waistline, and I'll just connect straight down, okay. After doing that, guys, I'm going to place my tape on this straight line, and I'll divide what I have there into two. What I have is 8 inches. Half of 8 inches is 4 inches. I'll mark the 4 inches, and then I'll just use my free hand to connect from that 4 inches to meet the line on the chest line, okay. So that is my arm, okay. After doing that, guys, I'll go ahead and cut. So guys, I'm done cutting, and this is the fabric for the back. We'll be placing the back on the front to cut out the front, okay. So for the front, my fabric is also folded into two. What I'll do is to place the back on this fabric, okay, but I'm going to extend the front by about 5 inches. So just look at what I'm doing. I went ahead to mark 5 inches and I connected like this, and then I'm going to now place the back on from this 5 inches, okay. So this 5 inches that I left is what we'll use to achieve our lapel, okay. So I measured it and it is 5 inches, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start with the neckline. So the neck width for the front and the back is going to be the same. So what I'll do is to mark that 3 inches neck width, okay. I'll mark it on the front fabric, okay. After doing that, the neck depth that I want for the front is going to be 3 inches. So I'm marking that 3 inches. I'll mark it like this. I'll also go down to the neck area and I'll mark it. So I'll now connect from this extension all the way to meet my neck width. Remember, this extension is going to be folded inside, okay. It's going to be folded inside, so this neckline is not too much. The only part of the neckline that is needed is the one after this 5 inches mark. I hope you guys understand. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect like this. So you can see I connected in a straight line, and then I curved it after the straight line to meet my neck width, just like that, okay. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the neckline. So this is the neckline for the front, and then I'll also trace out the remaining part. Every other part of this shirt remains the same, okay. So the only difference is this extension and then the neckline. So I'm going to remove the back. I'll keep it aside and work on the notch collar for the front, okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is to come inward from this extension. You know, we extended by 5 inches. I'm going to come in by 1 inch, as you can see me doing. I'll mark this 1 inch. This 1 inch is going to be for our button placket. So guys, after marking out this 1 inch from the 5 inches, we are left with 4 inches, okay. So what I'll do now is to notch on this 1 inch, okay. So I'll go ahead and notch on the neckline area. I'll also notch on the base on this particular 1 inch. So you can go ahead and clean off this other line so you don't get confused, okay. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to go inward from this 1 inch now, okay. I'll go inward from this 1 inch because we are going to fold this remaining 4 inch back inside, okay. So what I'll do is to go in from this first notch by 1.5 inches, and I'm also going to notch, okay. So I'll place my tape on this first notch. I'll go out by 1.5 inches. I'll notch the 1.5 inches. So guys, after notching, this is what we have the first notch and the second notch, okay. So once you fold it inward like this is how the front of our shirt is going to be, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to arrange this fabric in place to show you guys how we are going to form the notch collar. So I folded in the first notch. So from this first notch, the first notch is going to open up, okay, to form our notch collar, okay, just like you see me doing, okay. So before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and join both front piece and back piece together. So I'll open up my back piece and I'll place my front piece on it right side, facing right side, and I'll go ahead and join the shoulders using half an inch. Okay, so go ahead and join the front and the back first. I've sewn the shoulder in place and this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to cut my collar. So to do that, I'll go ahead and measure around the neckline area. Okay, so to cut out this collar, I'm going to start my measurement from the second notch. Okay, not the first notch. I'll start from the second notch. So I'll measure from this second notch all the way around the neckline area to meet the second notch. Remember, while we're drafting, I took the first notch, which was 1 inch, then I took the second notch, which was 1.5 inches. So we are leaving this 1 inch notch. We are not measuring from there, we are measuring from the second notch, which is 1.5 inches. So I'll measure from that second notch all the way around to the second notch on the other end. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. So you have 2 notch on the shirt. The second one is where you're going to measure from. So I measured around and I stopped at the second one on this other end. Okay, so what I have is about 16 inches. So what I'll do now is to divide this 16 inches by 2. To do that, I'm going to fold my tape into two like this to get the center. After doing that, I'm going to bring in the fabric that I'll be using to cut out my collar. So go ahead and fold the fabric into 2. The center of your collar is supposed to be on fold. So this is my fabric. I'll fold it into 2 like this, and I'm going to place half of that measurement that I got. So I said I got about 16 inches. I'll place half of it like this, okay, from the folded end, and I'll indicate half of it. The next thing I'll do is to now divide this half again. Okay, so I got 8 inches. Half of 8 inches is 4 inches. So I'll also mark the 4 inches and I'll divide it. So whatever you have, after measuring around your neckline area, divide it by 2, place it. After placing it, still divide what you got again by another 2 inches, which is what I just did. So what I had after dividing the 8 inches by 2 was 4 inches. I indicated it is going to serve as the center of the collar. So the next thing I'll do is to go up by half an inch on this 8 inches mark, because our shoulder is not exactly straight, so we need to create like a slant on this area. I went up by half an inch. I'll slant this half an inch back to this center. So this is the reason why I marked the center. I just slanted it back. I went up by just half an inch. So the next thing I'll do now is to determine the length of my collar. So this depends on how big you want your collar to be. So because I'll be stitching on the upper part of the collar and on the lower part, I'm taking 3.5 inches. You can do 4 inches, you can do 3 inches, depending on how wide you want your collar to be. So as you can see me doing, I'm marking 3.5 inches. Once I get to this part where I went up by half an inch, I'm starting the 3.5 measurements from that slant now, not going down. Okay, so the upper part of this collar is also going to have a curve. Okay, so I'll extend it to meet the 3.5 inches like this, and I'll connect the upper part like this. After doing that, guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do now is to add half an inch on the end of the collar, because I'm going to sew it close. Okay, so I'll add half an inch, which is my stitching allowance. So I already have stitching allowance on the collar length already. Okay, so I'll just connect and I'll blend it back into the collar. After doing that, I'll cut. After cutting, I'm going to place this on another piece of fabric folded into 2, and I'm going to duplicate it. So guys, I'm done cutting. This is what I have. I'm going to notch the center, so make sure you notch the down part, the center of the down part. Okay, it's very important. After notching, this is what I have. What I'll do now is to iron collar stay to one of it. Okay, I'll make sure that I leave half an inch all the way around. The reason I left half an inch all the way around is because I want it to be easy for me to turn my collar when I sew, because this collar stays a little bit hard. Okay, I'll place the lining on it and I'll go ahead and sew all the way around. On this base, I'm going to leave about half an inch that I'll not sew. Okay, let me show you guys what I mean. I didn't sew the base at all, but on this other part I left half an inch. I didn't sew all the way down. I left half an inch that I did not sew because I want it to be easy for me to fold it back inward when I'm sewing. You guys are going to understand what I mean soon. But I didn't sew half an inch, I didn't sew it down. Okay, so what I'll do now is to notch all the way around, which I already did off camera, and I went ahead to turn my collar to the right side. Okay, so after doing that, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and iron my collar in place. So guys, to form my notch collar, I'll go ahead and fold my fabric. Okay, so I'll fold from the first notch to meet the second notch. So please pay close attention. I'll fold like this from the first notch into the second notch. I'm going to go ahead and sew from this first notch and I'll stop on the second notch. Okay, so I'm not sewing close, I'm not sewing the second notch close. Okay, I'll repeat the same thing here. Turn your fabric to the wrong side and then sew from the first notch and stop at the second notch. Okay, so after doing that, guys, this is what I have. I've sewn in place and you can see that I didn't exceed the second notch. So what I'll do is to turn it to the right side so you guys understand what I mean. Okay, so guys, I've gone ahead to turn it over and this is what I have. So this is going to form our notch collar. Okay, so just go ahead and open it up like this, and that part is going to be the notch collar. The rest part of this extension that we did for the front is going to be inside. This is just what we need for the notch collar. Okay, so this is how it's going to be folded. Okay, so guys, the next thing I'll do now is to arrange my fabric right side facing right side. Make sure that the shoulders are matching and the neckline, everything is matching, and notch the center. Okay, so I'm notching the center at the back. Okay, so that is where we are going to start placing our collar from. Okay, remember we have a notch on the collar. Okay, so we're going to match the notch together. So what I did on the collar was to fold in half an inch on one end of the collar and I didn't fold the other end of the collar. Okay, so I'm going to place the notch on the collar on the notch on the shirt. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pin all the way around. Okay, so if you cut your collar correctly, it's going to stop on that second knot. The notch that we didn't sew is going to stop there. Okay, so make sure you measure around your neckline area. Okay, I'll reconfirm before you cut out your collar. You see where my collar stopped. Okay, where the collar stop is where the notch collar started from. So I'm going to conceal the rough edges of this extension. I'll fold it back inward and I'll sew it with the collar just so everything is inside. Okay, so in case you don't understand what I'm saying, just look at what I'm doing. After pinning the collar to this end, I'm going to open up that 4 inches extension that we have left. I'll pin it together with the collar and I'll sew it with the collar. Okay, so it's not going to be falling out anymore, it's going to be hidden inside the collar. I went ahead to sew on a straight line. After sewing, guys, this is what I have. Okay, I intentionally used the salvage end of this fabric on this collar area. Okay, just so you guys will be able to understand, since the since my fabric is kind of colorful. Okay, so I'm going to open it up after sewing, as you can see me doing. Go ahead and push everything in and turn the collar to the right side, which is what I am doing. Okay, make sure you open up all the pointy edges. Okay, after turning it over, this is what I have. So the reason why I didn't sew the collar to the end is this, because I want to now fold this collar to cover up the stitch that I just made on this collar area. Okay, so I didn't sew the end because it will make it easier for me to just pick it up just look at what I'm doing. This part that I didn't sew, remember I said I ironed one end, so I ironed the end inside, as you can see, just to give me a neat finishing. Okay, so if you iron it, it's going to make your work easier. If not, you can go ahead and just fold it as you are sewing. Okay, so I'm just going to fold it to cover, make sure it's covering the first stitch on the collar all the way to the end. Okay, just cover it all the way to the end. If you can pin and then go ahead and sew. If not, you can go ahead and just sew, but whatever you do, make sure it's covering the stitch that you have. So you can see that the rough edges of this extension is hidden inside. Okay, so guys, I've sewn the collar in place and this is what it looks like on the inside. So you can see that our extension is now inside the collar. Okay, I hope you guys are not confused. In case you have any question, you can leave it in the comment section. Okay, so this is what the collar looks like at the back also. So go ahead and just iron your collar in place so it stays flat. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to arrange my shirt in place, right side facing right side. Okay, I'll go ahead and use my stitching allowance to sew the two sides. My stitching allowance is 1.5 inches, so I'll mark 1.5 inches. I'll sew all the way to the end, and then I'll cut out my sleeves and I'll fix it. Okay, so for the sleeves, my fabric is folded into 4 and the length of my sleeves is about 11 inches, almost 11 inches. I'm going to fold in about 1.5 inches from it. First thing, I'll place my tape on the folded edge of the fabric and I'll come inward by 3 inches. The next thing is to go down on the open edge by 5 inches. Okay, so this is the easiest way I cut out my basic sleeves. I'm just going to connect from 3 inches to meet the 5 inches. So since this is a shirt, make sure that the armhole of your sleeves is not too curvy. You can just slant it. Okay, so next thing is to place my round sleeve circumference divided by 2 and I'll add my stitching allowance of 1.5 inches. Okay, after doing that, I'm just going to curve it. I'll connect from that point. On the base, I'll just slant it a bit. Okay, but make sure you have your stitching allowance there if you don't want your sleeves to be too tight. Okay, so after connecting, I'll just go ahead and cut. Okay, so after cutting, I will notch the center. I'll fix my sleeves. Okay, but before you fix, make sure you confirm on this armhole area if it's enough to go around your shirt. Is very important. Okay, if it's not enough, you can go ahead and open it up, make it wider. Okay, so what I'll do is to use my hemming gum to just iron the base of the sleeves down, or go ahead and just hem the base of your sleeves. Okay, and then fix your sleeve to your shirt. I've gone ahead to do that. I've joined the sides and I've fixed my sleeves to the shirt, and this is what I have. Guys, next thing I'll do is to hem the base of my shirt. Okay, so I'll fold it twice like this and I'll sew all the way around. If you don't want to hem, you can use your hemming gum to hold it down, and then I'll open my buttonhole. Since my shirt is longer than the one on the thumbnail, I'm going to open like 3 buttonholes. Okay, so go ahead and do that and fix your button, and then give your shirt a good press. This is me just trying to show you guys the notch collar. I feel like you guys are not seeing it from afar because of the nature of this fabric, but I hope you are. So guys, I've hemmed the base of my shirt. Okay, and I've gone ahead to open my button, or I used my manual machine to do that. So go ahead and fix your button to your shirt and give your shirt a good press. Okay, so guys, that is all for this shirt tutorial. So we're going to finish up this skirt. Okay, so I've sewn my lining in place. Okay, and I went ahead to take in my darts just like I said earlier. Okay, this is what I did for the front. I closed all the sides. Okay, for the back also, I also went ahead to fix my lining in place and I took in my darts. I went ahead to iron the darts in place. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to close this zipper allowance because I don't have a zipper right now, so I'll just close it up and I'll leave my slit on the base. Okay, so if you don't want a slit, it is optional. after closing my zipper allowance, I'll use my stitching allowance to sew the two sides of the skirt. I'll turn my skirt to the right side and I'll iron. So I've gone ahead to do that, guys, and this is what I have. So the last thing I'll do is to fix my zipper. And yeah, guys, that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.